Welcome to this week's weekly Pan-African News Roundup on the Kente Business Journal. Here we serve you with all the major news headlines across Africa and the African diaspora. My name is Rahel Okosia Oredwa-Poku. Now in the headlines. African fintech market expected to grow by annual rate of 10% by 2025. Ghana prepares to host leaders from Africa's political, economic and social sectors. And all is set for Morocco to participate in the 2023 African Nations Championship football competition. Now the news in detail. According to Rola Latifi, Vice President of the Iran and African Merchants Club, Iran shipped 2.209 million tons of non-oil goods worth about $1.094 billion to the African states from the start of the Iranian calendar year, that's March 21, 2022 to December 31. News sources in Iran state that 2.29 million tons of goods worth $1.169 million were exchanged between Iran and Africa over the aforementioned time, according to Latifi. According to the official, Iranian exports to Africa accounted for 96.5% of the entire weight of the traded items and 93.5% of the total value. The biggest markets for Iranian exports, according to him, are South Africa, Mozambique, Ghana, Sudan, and Nigeria, whereas Tanzania, Kenya, South Africa, Ghana, and Seychelles were the major sources of imports among the African countries in the period under review. According to McKinsey Research, the African fintech sector, excluding South Africa, is anticipated to grow by 10% yearly to reach $150 billion by 2025. More smartphone ownership, reduced internet costs, increased network coverage, and a young, quickly urbanizing population are all contributing to the development of fintech businesses in Africa. The COVID-19 pandemic has sped up the transition to digitalization and improved the climate for emerging technology players. According to McKinsey's report, fintech businesses offer their clients a lot of value. In comparison to what traditional players are offering, their transactional solutions can be up to 80% less expensive, and their savings interest rates can be up to 3 times higher. Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Egypt, Ghana, Kenya, Morocco, Nigeria, Senegal, South Africa, Tanzania, and Uganda, which combined account for 70% of Africa's GDP and half of its population, are the major markets for fintech growth according to the research. The highest market share in these regions is now held by South Africa, around 40% of revenues, but until 2025, Ghana and Francophone West Africa are predicted to expand at the quickest rates of 15% and 13% per year respectively. Egypt and Nigeria are also anticipated to have rapid development at 12% annually over the same period. However, the report indicated that depending on the degree of digital maturity, the potential in each market will change. There will probably be more innovation in sophisticated financial services in nations like South Africa and Nigeria that have better developed financial systems and digital infrastructure. Advances in fundamental financial services are expected to be seen in markets with expanding financial infrastructure and systems like Egypt. Sama, a subcontractor of Meta for content moderation in Africa, has announced the closing of its content moderation division in Kenya in order to streamline operations. According to sources, Majorel, an European outsourcing company, will take over the contract. Another case against Meta is also pending in Kenya due to allegations that it disregarded Facebook's safety protocols. According to reports, Sama will lay off 200 workers as it transitions away from content inspection services and focus more on labeling tasks. Sama's moderators were reportedly asked to comb through social media messages on all of its platforms, including Facebook, to eliminate those that incited and spread hate, false information, and violence. The first edition of the Africa Prosperity Dialogues will be held in Ghana from January 26 to January 28, 2023, and will be attended by leaders from the continent's political, economic, and social sectors. The conference is sponsored by His Excellency Wamkele Mene, Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, and His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana. The Dialogue Series, a project of the Africa Prosperity Network, was intended to bring together other thought leaders on Africa as well as African political and commercial leaders at the conference. The organizers said that in addition to discussing the crucial single market projects for the continent, the leaders are expected to establish an annual platform for them to lead the collaborative implementation of the crucial Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. In order to build a strong and efficient single market of Africa's 1.4 billion people and thereby increase opportunities for African citizens and build a more prosperous Africa, the Africa Prosperity Dialogue Series will include the launch of various platforms for political, business, and social sector leaders on the continent and in the diaspora. The Dialogue Series, which has been dubbed the Quo Summit because the idea was developed at an APN retreat held at the prestigious Rock City Resort in the Quo Mountains of eastern Ghana, will also help to bring the continent's pressing problems into sharp relief, lay out its industrialization priorities, and aggressively advance the necessary commercial and infrastructural interventions to achieve the goal of deepening intercontinental trade. 12 African presidents are among the participating heads of state. Successful business figures from Africa and beyond, including manufacturers, economists, bankers, and successful entrepreneurs, have also confirmed their participation. And in Sudan, signatories of the country's framework agreement concluded the first of several planned workshops that seek to pave the way for a more inclusive peace deal on Thursday. In Khartoum, the meeting spokesperson outlined the highlights of the first of several planned workshops aimed at paving the way to a more inclusive peace deal. He said the process's main objective was to broaden the base of consultations between the various Sudanese and Sudanese actors at this stage, so the final political agreement would represent not only the signing powers, but also the widest base of the Sudanese people. Protesters demanded the ouster of the military rulers who seized power in October 2021. They also rejected the framework agreement. The junta and the main pro-democracy group struck a contested deal set to organize a gradual transfer of power to civilian leaders. Benin's main opposition on Thursday rejected the result of this week's parliamentary election, claiming vote buying and fraud allowed allies of President Patrice Talon to win a majority of legislature seats. Pro-Talon Republican Bloc and Progressive Union for Renewal parties together won 81 seats in the 109-member parliament, with opposition Democrats gaining 28 seats, according to preliminary results on Wednesday. In an early Thursday press conference, the Democrats party leader denounced ballot box stuffing, rigging, and vote buying by the two pro-government parties. And in sports, Morocco is set to take part in the African Nations Championship football in Algeria after announcing earlier Thursday the cancellation of its participation due to the closure of Algerian airspace to Moroccan planes, according to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The African Nations Championship, reserved for players competing in the national championships, will be held from January 13 to February 4 in Algeria. Algiers closed its airspace on September 22, 2021 to all Moroccan civil and military aircraft after breaking diplomatic relations with Rabat. This serious crisis is allegedly fueled by the thorny issue of Western Sahara in the context of permanent tensions between the two enemy brothers. The Atlas Lions, one of the powers of African football, have won the last two African Nations Championships in 2021 and in 2018. And forces in Ethiopia's northernmost Tigray region on Wednesday announced starting the handing over of heavy weapons to the Ethiopian National Defense Forces as part of an African Union-led peace process. The disarmament process is a central part of the peace deal signed last November between the federal government and the Tigray People's Liberation Front. The handing over was held in the presence of the African Union observers, monitoring teams from the two sides, and a regional body, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development. At the occasion, Tigray Defense Forces representative Muligita said the start of the disarmament will play a major role in restoring peace in Ethiopia.
That's it for this week's weekly Pan-African News Roundup on the Kente Business Journal. Kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the notification bell to stay updated always. You can follow us on all our social media platforms. Catch you next weekend.